Thanks for joining us for the Member xCite presentation. The Member xCite presentation is informative, interesting to the audience, and showcases the strengths of the presenter as an entrepreneur and their area of expertise. It's not a sales pitch, it's a 10-minute educational and insightful exploration into what they do. And of course, it's exciting.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our xCite presenter today, Kathleen Bosworth from Workland, to present to us on increasing employee engagement through learning technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Kathleen Bosworth.
A little bit of background about me, because I've done some various things. I have a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Education, focusing primarily on instructional design, which back in the day was called curriculum instruction, but I also did some special work in psycholinguistics and multilingualism. So that's kind of my background. I opened my very first business when I was 7.5 months pregnant in a foreign country, in a foreign land, on a Mediterranean island. And I was luckily able to sell that business after about 5 years. And the reason that I sold that business was not because life in paradise isn't wonderful, but I found that in my business I was working 55 hours just teaching because I owned a language school, and then when you added on the work that I was doing to actually run that business, it took me 70, 80 hours a week, and I had a young family, and so I thought, no, I definitely don't want to do this. Luckily landed in Australia, which I worked for someone for a year and then started my own business where I've done a lot of consulting work. And I did that probably for maybe 10 years or so. And that's where you saw the projects that Brigitte was rattling off. And I enjoyed all of that. I recently, then about 10 years ago, maybe 12, bought into the business that I have now, which is work plan learning. So I've always been involved in learning technology, and more lately, with large implementations of learning technology within organizations. So I was very happy when Brigitte asked me to do this talk, but originally I thought, okay, I'll talk about, what I normally talk about, going into organizations, large organizations, and how to get them to increase their employee engagement. And I've been attending some of the other BXs, like I went visited Chermside, and then I was up in North Lakes yesterday to see the CEO, and I suddenly, to hear him speak because he was there, the CEO of BX, and I thought to myself, oh wow, I don't know, it's not the same audience. So we are going to be looking at learning principles, and those learning principles are going to relate to employees, but they also relate to how we engage with our clients. And then I thought another really important thing to look at, just going back to that experience of my first business, 55 hours teaching and 80, is that what I've learned in the business that I have now, how important recurring revenue is. So we're just going to touch on that and how you can use learning technology to do that. So the first thing is, how many people here in this room use learning technology in their business? Okay, great. And how many people generate a recurring revenue from that learning technology? And recurring revenue would be something that, yes, you have to give a bit of customer support, but you don't necessarily have to go out and work for it. Do you? Good. It's great, isn't it? It's the way to go, and I suppose that's really the key to making ourselves independent from the day-to-day work of a business, is to find a way, if you're not, bless you. If you're not a real capitalist, you're going to be making money off of other people, then a great way to do it is to have recurring revenue, because that makes you independent. So I gave you all these little sheets because sometimes it helps me to follow along since I don't have a powerful slide presentation to go through. So the V stands for value. And value is very important to any type of engagement. And I'm talking about people value. A lot of times we think about the value of our products or the value of our services, but if you want people to be engaged with you, you have to show them that you actually value them. That is one of the key ingredients to having people that are engaged with you. And certainly in learning, in an educational set or in an employee setting, it's all about the manager knowing that they value, that the employee is valued. But in the setting, the context of client relationships, it's that you value your client. And that will certainly increase that engagement. So these 3 principles that I like to talk about to increase engagement. It will increase engagement with your clients. And the first one is to link anything that you do, but especially learning. And people respond to being taught. That's why they come to you, because you're the expert at something, right? So yes, you're giving them a service, but part of what you're doing is actually giving them information and helping them learn what it is that you need to have them learn so that they can make the best decision. So linking learning to the individual career development certainly is very important in an employee situation, but I'll give you an example of how it's very important in a client relationship. I was in the process of implementing a project that was probably going to cost the client, not that he spent that much money with me, but the whole overall aspect of the project was going to be $1.5 to $2 million a couple of years ago. And he looked at me very serious as he said, we're going to do this with us. He said, are you going to help me be successful? Because I don't want to lose my job. If this doesn't work, I'm going to lose my job. And so it's very important, even with client engagements, that we appreciate the impact of the work that we're doing with our clients, because in some cases, someone will lose their job if it doesn't go very well. And I remember that to this day, and it certainly has guided me as I speak to clients. And so certainly, if you're focusing too on your, how your client's position is going to be enhanced by what you do, is that same thing. You're positively reinforcing that career development. And so 94% of people say that they would stay at a company longer if that company invested in their learning. And the same, I think, can be true. I don't know the exact percentage, but certainly if you're working with your clients and you're teaching them something, they're going to be more engaged with you. In the learning space, most people would probably know a guy called Josh Bersin, who is kind of like a guru in learning in businesses. You might know him. Anyway, he developed this phrase called learning in the continuous flow of work. How do we actually learn while we're at work, and what are the best ways to do that? And so he said that, of knowledge workers, not necessarily construction workers, but most of us here would work in an office, that on average we spend 6.5 hours a day on our computer. 28% of that is on email. 19% is gathering information. 14% is communicating internally, whether that's in informal meetings or formal meetings, for a total of 61% of our time that we spend finding data and insights and information and sharing it with others. So Josh Bersin's premise is that we need to use technology as an enabler, and that an online space to create that community, whether that's learning for your clients or in fact learning in a business, but having an online space where your clients can communicate with you is far more efficient of a technology enabled. Oh, wow.
That was fast.
It was fast. Okay, creating a learning engagement loop then. This is where people share content with each other. And so basically what a learning engagement loop is, the subject matter expert is sharing information, and from that they derive great value. They're more engaged because they're sharing something with you, and the recipient of that information is also more engaged because suddenly someone values them enough to give them that information. And so that's what we call the learning engagement loop. So I'll really be quick. This next section on the other side is how learning can increase your business value. And I've already shared to you that experience I've had in Rhodes. yes, I made a lot of money, but there probably wasn't that. We had computers, but nothing was online back then. So R&R, the why do you want to use learning technology to increase your business value? And the main reason is for that recurring revenue. That recurring revenue can equal rest and relaxation. That the more money that you can make, the less time, through recurring revenue, the less time you necessarily have to spend in your business. Some of the advantages, which we've spoken of through that talking about learning, is client retention. You'll get a steady income, and of course, most importantly, business value. You suddenly, and investor value. If you're looking for someone to invest in their business, they don't want it all to be based on your effort to find business value. So how do you do that? The first thing is to commercialize your IP. So we all have IP, I'm sure, otherwise we probably wouldn't be doing what we're doing, but to find a way to commercialize it. And I say, what is yours? Now, there's not enough time to go through what it would be to say, how to commercialize, but find a way to find out what your IP is, the best that would be fit into that scenario of recurring revenue. Then capture your IP, find a place where it can be put, then organize your IP, because in most cases it's not in a way that is ready to go online, and then build your IP as a learning content, and finally commercialize. Thank you very much.